Hiya guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. So the previous video, the Mini Lathe DTI holder that goes in the tool post seemed very popular, so I'm continuing with Mini Lathe work. I actually recorded that video after the contents of this video, so that won't be used in this video because it doesn't exist yet. So with that said, today what we're going to do is straighten out the bed of the lathe to make sure that that's straight and cuts true to start with, and then we're going to align the tailstock. So it's all about bed alignment and tailstock alignment. Now I will say at this point there was a point within this video where I got really lucky. I'm demonstrating a few ways of aligning the tailstock, and the rudimentary grassroots simple way turned out in this circumstance to be spot on, which is, you know, that's not normal. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video guys, and we'll have a little chat at the end. Okay, so where are we at with the tailstock? I'm doing the coat paint, blackened everything, put it all together. I do want to put some paint on here. Once I've got it set, I'll just pop this guide rail off and paint it to within a few mil of the edge, so that does look a bit meh. I will be changing the hand wheel, putting some thrust washers in, blah blah. Right, okay. So, cam lock. So, yeah, working, locking. I skimmed 0.5 mil off the bottom of this part. This has been re-blackened as well. And now its lock position is there, and it doesn't interfere with the cam lock handle. So that was quite a quick, simple fix. Now that we got the centre roughly right, we need to quantify it at a later stage, and I'll probably redo what I've just done. I've locked the tailstock down. I've got a piece of brass bar up in here. Now, I was hoping I had a piece of like 20 mil steel, but I've got nothing along those sizes. But I have got this piece of what looks like 15, 16 mil brass. So, first cuts on the lathe. I've got the feed on. I've got a cutter in. I centre drill the end of the bar. And I'm going to take a cut along the length of this bar. Nice. Alright, I'm going to take you off the tripod, bring you around. Okay. So first cut. Sweet. I'm trying to keep you in focus. Yeah, so I'm going to run it full length, and then I'm going to put some undercuts in it, or a big undercut along its length, leaving about 10 mil, maybe 20, 15 mil either end, unmachined. Then we're going to remove the centre. So we're taking a mill cut. It's going to be along the entire length, leaving about 20 mil on the end and about 20 mil on that end. Okay, so you can probably see now, piece of brass bar, upstand on that end, about a mil higher, upstand on that end. I've removed the centre, so there's no centre in there now. The tailstock removed. So I'm going to start it up. Let's run about 1100 RPM. So I'm just going to get a touch off on here, on this section. I've marked it with a Sharpie. Okay, and I'm going to take about a thou off it. I'm expecting shatter. Okay, this bar's not really thick enough. Alright, I'm going to come back and I'm going to slow it down. See if I can remove the chatter. So I'll come to this end and just machine this end as well. Yeah, not so much chatter there, not so much stick out. So I'm going to run this cut. I think I'll blacken it up again. and then we'll try another thou, but going, let's try 500 RPM. My feed rate is very slow. Okay. Let's get a slower speed first. Okay, 600 RPM will do. So, yeah, I can see the chatter marks in there. I don't want that. That'll give me a false diameter. Okay, let's go. One line cut on my scale. See if we can get rid of that chatter. That's a lot better. I know I've cleaned that up. Let's go up this end and clean this up. And then we'll get the mic out, measure what our diameters are. Because before I get a true reading of where the tailstock is, I need to see if the bed is straight. So without the tailstock's influence, does it turn true? Because if I set the tailstock up to turn a true diameter, I'm in theory making two wrongs make a right. I'm just going to set 0 on my dial. I haven't set the DROs up yet. Okay. So I have a good finish on both ends. Let's switch that power feed off. I have a really nice finish on both ends, and it's good to mic up. So what I'm going to do is a comparison of the two diameters. Okay, good mic. .568. .7. 15.7. 15.568. So that's telling me that this end is 0.132 bigger. All right. Nope, smaller. Let me just check. I want to get this right. 15.568. 15.698. Okay. This side is smaller. So what that is telling me is that the tool is closer to the brass at this end than it is at that end. So at the tailstock end under the bed, I need to pack it up at the back. The total amount I'm out is 0.132. Let's call it 0.13. So we're looking, which is 0.13 is about 5.5 thou. So in total, half of that would be about 2-3 thou. So I want to pack up under the back foot of the bed by about 3 thou and then try again. I think I'll try that, see if it makes any difference. So that is what I'm going to do next. So pack the back of the lathe bed up at the tailstock end, undo both the screws, jack it up a little, put a piece of packing under the back and screw it back down. So just to show you what I'm referring to, there's a bolt here on this side of the tailstock and there's another one on the back. I'm going to loosen both bolts, put a little piece of packing under the back. So 3 thou feeler in the back, I thought I'd try with that, all clamped down again. I'm taking another cut and I'm actually 0.1 smaller this end than I am at this end. So I've improved it, but I need to increase my packing size because I need to pull the tool, in effect, twist it further away from this end so it doesn't cut so much off this end. So I'll keep going with this. I think I'll double the amount of packing. Don't know how well you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So my first shim was 3, then I went to 8. I'm talking thou. So this is 5. Okay, so just levering up the end of the bed so I can get the shim in, and then just nip that side, pull this side down at first before I tighten on that side, because I'm trying to cant it over, if that makes sense. So that side's just barely nipped. So nice tighten on that Allen key, and now that one's done. Go to the back, working blind, and tighten that one up. Okay, right, rinse and repeat. Okay, one more go. I did try it once more. I found a 1.5 thou shim. Played with that. Right. So 15.155, 15.154, come on, get the feel, 15.155, I think, yeah. Okay, let's do this one. Come on, get the feel, Same feel as the other end. 15.168, that did feel loose. That's better. 15.153. 15.154. 15.151. 15.155. Right, I'm going to turn just the friction part of the thimble this time, right on the top. $15.157. $15.158. 15.156. I think we've got it. Okay, it took me 45 minutes of messing about with this to get that right. So yeah, I'm very pleased we've got that now bed straight, shall we call it. So now we can go back to the center. So bit of explanation where you are first. MT3 fixed center in the headstock. So this is the headstock end, tailstock this end, and this is the back of the lathe. So as you can see the points, the tailstock is way off towards the back of the lathe that way. So I loosen off my lock screw on the tailstock, so that's the black screw that goes through to the base. Just the 3 grub screws on the back, just literally make sure that they're purely nipped and no more. So tailstock wants to come this way first of all, like this is just by eye. So if I loosen the grub screw on the front here, anti-clock a few turns, and I go round the back, let's start tightening this one up. So keep your eye on the centers. Oh, I've got to loosen the lock just a touch. Right, what's tight here? Something's tight because that's not moving. Let me double check, make sure everything's in a position where it's going to want to move. Okay, so tailstock is there. Right, okay, let's try that again. So loosen the back one, get the right Allen key would help, eh? Cut all of this out, and the bloody ends fell off my microphone. What is that? Okay, so start again. So, first thing I've got to do to be able to move it forward is I'm going to be tightening the front grub screw and loosening the back one. I've made sure that the 3 grub screws at the back of the tailstock that you saw me do are just nipped, and my clamp is not clamped. Well, it's just in position, it's not clamped, and that the locking screw between the base part of the tailstock and the upper part of the tailstock is loose. Right, okay, so I need to tighten up on this front screw, and if you keep an eye on those 2 points, hold on, let me get this right. I want to tighten up on this front one, loosen the back one, yes, because I want to pull the tailstock forward. Let me just make sure the back one's loose. Getting in the way. Okay, right. So, around the front, these T-handles aren't the best ones for this. I have moved it across and I've come too far. So little gauge, I'm sort of in the ballpark, but I have come too far. If I put a rule between those 2 centres and wind out, hold on, the rule is wanting to go that way, to be angled like, how can I tell? The rule is wanting to be angled like that. That's what it's trying to do. So that tells me that I need to come towards me even more. Okay, let's just do a little nip, a little turn. Have I cut myself? I can see little bits of blood on my finger. Where have I got that from? Probably off one of those centres. Yeah, not the best Allen key for this, the ball-ended one in these grub screws. Okay, I've come too far. Loosen this one off, tighten the back one. Not demonstrating this very well, am I? So I'm tightening the grub screw at the back, which is pulling, or should pull, the tailstock back. And that grub screw at the back is really loose. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Starting to move. Okay. Wants to come towards me. So I've gone too much again. Loosen the back one, half a turn. Tighten the front one, half a turn. Height-wise, they look right. center wise, it's trying to sit straight now. If I pinch the rule between the 2 points, it's trying to sit straight. If anything, it wants to go back a touch more. So if I just tighten the back one, you may even see that rule move. Yes, it did. And a touch more. And a little bit more, and it's going to look square to the lathe. Or here. So you can see that rule moving, and this end of the rule is moving back. That now looks parallel to the ways. In fact, I think I might have gone a little far. Let's just tighten the front one just to... I saw it move, but imperceptible. Okay, so this is the rough and ready method. I must reiterate that. This is, you know, how to get a quick alignment. And what I'm going to do now is do up those 3 grub screws at the back. They're not tight, so I'm going to make sure that they're tight. Has anything moved? You know what, it's just moved slightly. They're not tight, they're nipped. I think I need to come towards me a little bit more. It's moved when I tightened up those 3. So there we are, there's something we've learned. If I loosen off the back one a bit more, let me tighten the front one, and that will pull it round. Hold on. Let's grab another grab of that rule. In fact, it wants to go back just a hair. Tighten the back one then. Watch the rule move. Now I've got both the front and back grub screws are tight now. The adjusting grub screws, front and back, are nipped, and the 3 grub screws that lock it to the base are nipped. I think what I'm going to do is pull it out from there. Just lock everything on the tailstock. Make sure all screws are tight. And come back in and have another look. So I must reiterate, this is rough. This is a rough setting. Make sure that's tight now. In fact, I need to get a straightforward 4mm Allen key to get in there. The ball end one won't go in there very well. Right, let's come back in and see if anything's moved. I have cut my finger, I can see blood. I don't know what on. Okay, so that rule looks parallel to the ways between the 2 points. I can't get you in a better spot, I'm afraid, but it's parallel to the ways between the 2 points, and that's a starting point. So I'm going to make sure that everything is locked, and what I'm going to do is put a bar up between the 2 centres, and let's quantify it by getting an equal measurement either end. So this bar is going to come in for all of the ways I set it up, but let's quantify it. Go first. So dead centre in the headstock. I have got I've hardly used it, a new running centre in the tailstock. I've got no drive dog, so I'm basically friction driving this. Okay, so let's fire the lathe up. What we're running at, 660. Let's go 770 RPM. That's 33 hertz on the motor. Let's just take a touch. Okay. Let's take 10 microns off. Switch my feed on. So, piece of aluminium bar, centre either end. First thing I'm going to do is screw it up. Now I made this on the other lathe. It's hollowed out in the middle, so I'm going to turn the entire length. That feed is quite coarse, but that's fine. That's running true. Let's go up the other end and just take a skim off that. Right. So what did we get? We know the bed is now straight. We know we set the centre in that method, and I've just used the ratchet on the mic. 11.280. If this is within 0.5 millimeters, I would be surprised. Nah, you're kidding me. What? 11.280. What's freaking me out here? $11.277. I'm not messing you guys, I promise. 11.279. I was not expecting it to be anywhere near that good. I think we've just struck super lucky. Right then. Yeah, I think we have struck super lucky there. It should no, there's no way that should have done that, you know, to those sorts of sizes just straight off the bat. I'm astonished. It's not very often I'm lost for words. The only problem is now I wanted that to be like, I don't know, 0.2 millimeters out or something like that, because then I could have come back and showed another method, clocked it in again, and then quantified that. But having to move my tailstock from where it is now, which is on the money, I think I need to review my idea of showing another method. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to show another method, but I'm not going to move the tailstock. Is that probably what I should do? I will show the other method, the more accurate, much more accurate. I mean, that's a cheap, cheerful method of aligning the two, the one I just showed you. And I'm in disbelief. Let me wrong mic, eh? Let me do this again. So another way to do it, I've got my low profile DTI holder here, but normal one would work just as well. So I've got the clock set on 0 at the back. I've leveled up the clock. It's on center line of the quill. It's in the collet. And if I spin the clock around to the other side, I'm working with very little to play on here. And that's measuring 0.05 millimeters is the difference I'm getting. But obviously, this will also allow you to check the height as well. And that's about 0.07. It's not, yeah, 0.0. 2 lines on this clock, and it measures 0.01 increments. So 0.02 out. So that's 0.02, and on the underside, yeah, back on 0 again. So if I put it here, I have got a line under 0. If I put it on this side, find the center point, yeah, we're back on the 0. So according to my clock, that is within 0.01, if not closer. So yeah, that's a way to do it. I can't get the clock in, the camera in this side without shaking it all over the place. So that's probably the better way to do it. I could even put a center in there and clock around the center would work as well. Actually measuring the Morse taper then rather than the outside of the quill. But yeah, I mean that's the way you can do it. You can sweep the two axes into true together using this method. Yeah, I mean, it's showing that it's pretty close, and in fact we know it is pretty close, so you know that is another way of doing it, probably more accurate than the two centers, or would be normally. And then there is another way to do it as well, which I'll explain. So the third way to do it would be if you had a setting bar. So I'm just using this piece of aluminium as an example. So you turn a center in the headstock, so a piece of scrap steel, whatever you got, in the headstock, and turn the chamfer on in situ, so you know that that center is running parallel and true to the bearings in the headstock, which is your center of rotation. Right, okay, so that's that end. Then with a dead center in this end, you've got two fixed points of reference. Then using a test bar, so a test bar would be typically, I made one previously. For instance, if I had a piece of 20mm 01 drill rod, stainless, not stainless, silver steel, and then I put it up in the forejaw and I accurately drilled a center one end, clocked it up on its OD, drilled a center one end, and then machined that taper in the end with a very small boring bar, then flipped the bar and did exactly the same the other end, clocked it up to be running dead true on the OD, and then center drilled it and machined the center again. You would then have a test bar, and you need to be very careful how you do that so that you've got nice machine centers and that they're spotlessly clean and all the rest. So you then know that you have centers running true to the OD on both ends of a ground bar, which is fixed diameter the full length. You put that up between centers then, clock in the tool post, sweep back and forth. So you can come to this point, set a 0 on your clock, and for instance, if you got to here on center height, if your clock was showing plus or minus, that's the amount by which you adjust the tailstock. So yeah, I may make up a test bar if I get a chance. In fact, what I could do, yeah, yeah, if I get a chance, I'll see if I can order some more silver steel. Yeah, I'll order a piece of 20mm or something like that from. I find Zorro's cheaper for that, so a standard length of that, and then we'll make a test bar, I think. But yeah, I mean, so that's the methodology anyway, and then you keep coming back, no machining to do. You keep coming back until you got 0 both ends when you're on center height, and you should be good. It's also worth checking on top as well, because you should have 0 here. If you've got a different reading this end to this end on height, then it's going to throw out your reading on the side, because of obviously you're at a different point on the radius depending on where the bar is sat. So but I think the turning between centers until you've got something running the same diameter at both ends is the way to go. You know, I've got this piece here. I'll hang on to it. I'll probably end up using it for something else, but I think this is the way to go. It would be better if I had an elongated piece on here, so the turn bit was away somewhere and I had a drive dog on it. Then I could use it, if it was steel anyway, and then I could use a dead center in this end with a bit of grease, and it would be even better than using the revolving center that I used. So yeah, the ruler between 2 points, or optical method, the obviously setting up of the bed to cut equal diameters either end is important. Otherwise you're just setting the tailstock off up to correct for bed error, and then at different points along the bed it's going to read differently. So yeah, it's important that you get your bed straight first. Lathe doesn't have to be level, but the bed has to be straight, and obviously we've got it straight. Happy days. So there we are. I got really lucky with that, didn't I? So when I showed the aluminium being turned and I measured both ends, if that was out, I could then adjust the tailstock using that with a clock on the side of the bar to bring that into alignment and remachine it just to confirm. So it's always good when you've done your alignment method to confirm it by turning a piece of bar and over the length, you know, that you would expect. I mean, it's only a small lathe and I'm only going to be using the first 8 inches, but if you've got parallelism in diameter over that length, then you know you've hit your mark and your tailstock's in line. So that's great fun. So I was that lucky, I went out and bought a lottery ticket. I made £1. Oh well, not to worry. So anyway guys, thank you so much for subscribing. Thanks for all your support. As I say, the previous video has done really well, or you know, a couple of thousand more views than normal. Hit that thumbs up button, give me a like. If you're watching on a mobile device, it's the boost button or the hype button, I think it is, but you know, give me a press on that. You can use it 3 times a month, I think, something like that. I'm not sure. I don't view YouTube on a mobile app. I use a desktop. But with that said, again, thanks for subscribing, thanks for viewing, and give me a thumbs up.